was asked to talk about financial resilience. So, the title of my talk is FQ and Financial Resilience. Ano ba yung financial resilience? It is really our ability to bounce back, to get back on track again after financial shocks. If you're going to use an analogy, parang kumbaga sa katawan natin, no? Our body's immune system. Because, we are constantly exposed to a lot of elements, and we can only count on our immune system to fight off whatever attacks we are encountering. So in the same way, for our financial life, we can never have full control of what's going to happen in our economy, in the world. Ito na nga nangyari, buong mundo na ang nagdudusa dito sa COVID-19, ano? But if we are able to have our financial, or ang tinatawag ko nga na FQ, in check, we will be okay. I mean, makakaramdam ng hirap, but we can bounce back. And since I believe that lessons are best delivered and remembered when told in a story, I'm going to tell you my story. As mentioned by Marge a while ago, I was an investment banker before I decided to be a full-time homemaker in order to give my focused and undivided attention to these 3 little boys. Nakikita nyo, ito yung mga anak namin. Panganay si Martin, nasa kanan. Enrique on the left is our second, and the bunso is Anton. And it was because in my line of job, I was an investment banker. It was impossible for me to be really involved meaningfully in the day-to-day activities of my sons. And so there you go. I became a full-time homemaker, and it could probably be one of the best decisions I made in my life, because before I knew it, eto na po sila. Malalaki ng lahat. So, yung panganay si Martin, Enrique, and Anton. At this point in my life, I was again faced with another set of crossroads. What am I gonna do now that they're no longer in need of my tutok na attention? And I was able to find the answer in the words of a philosopher theologian named Frederick Buechner. He said, God calls us to a place where our deep gladness meets the world's deep hunger. Ang bongga, di ba? That I even came up with my own paraphrase. Normally, I would ask all the audience to read this with me. So gawin pa rin natin, kahit na nakamute kayo. What is God's will? God's will is just the intersection of our greatest passion and the world's greatest need. So at that point in time, I thought to myself, what's my passion? It was definitely raising my sons. And is there any need that intersects with that passion? And I'm sure all of you will agree that there's always a need to raise our children well. And raising our sons well is really very important because they are the future heads of Filipino families. And so after gathering all my midlife guts, I came up with my first book entitled Raising Pinoy Boys. The project even became bigger because I also interviewed the parents of successful Filipino men such as Lance Gokongwei, Tony Meloto, Tony Tan Cactiong, Bo Sanchez, the Tan brothers, and Chris Tew. What happened was that ang naging common favorite chapter is that on money matters. Parang natuwa yung mga readers na, uy, ang liliit pa, nag-invest na, ganun. And so, one thing led to another, and this is where I introduced the term FQ, Financial Intelligence Quotient, which later on, after a few years, became a book. As a matter of fact, it is a trilogy, and this is the first installment. It's called FQ, the Nth Intelligence, and this is a very essential 21st century skill that we should all possess. This is that thing that will make us financially resilient. Kaya pag na-attack tayo ng COVID at kung ano-ano na naman dyan, mga problema sa ekonomiya, we will be fine if we are okay with our FQ. Now, you may be wondering, nasa na kaya yung mga anak ko? So, eto na po sila. And for the parents out there, you know that this is like the biggest sigh of relief a parent can have pag napagtapos na niya lahat ng mga anak niya. So the oldest now, after being with a multinational company, has his own brand consultancy and audit firm. It's called Brandem. Our second son is the one in finance. He used to be a research analyst at one of the top international brokerage companies. And he is now, well, he is a CFA, a chartered financial analyst, and he is now the financial architect of Investing for Everyone, our firm. And well, I have a marketing guy and a finance guy. I also have a semi-showbiz guy. Anton is a professional host and choreographer, a mixed VJ, and a podcaster. So sa awa ng Diyos, we were able to raise them. My husband and I were able to raise them to have high FQ. And this is sort of their economic self-defense. Kasi ikukwento ko lang sa inyo. Meron kaming pamangkin na who wanted to take up the course na animation. But his parents, who were all in the medical field, ganun yung family nila, they were not familiar. This was like mga a decade ago na rin siguro to, no? So they were so uncertain. Sabi nila, anak, huwag ka dyan. Baka gutom ang aabutin mo. Kasi they didn't know Hindi uso yung animation during their time. And so they said, nursing na lang ang kunin mo. So the dutiful daughter took up nursing even if her heart belonged to animation. And what happened? Kasi they said, ay, ang lakas taas ang sweldo ng mga nurse, especially in London at that time. So when she finally graduated from nursing, guess what happened? There was an oversupply of nursing graduates that they even had to pay for the training so that a hospital could take her in. Importante yun needed requirement yun para maging full-fledged nurse siya. So why am I telling you this? For the parents out there, we should acknowledge that nobody really knows what profession, what field will be lucrative once our children enter the work field. And what we can only do is to prepare them to be financially resilient, to have a high FQ. At ito yung magiging economic self-defense nila. And we all know naman, di ba, lahat ng mga success stories, they're doing the thing that they are meant to be doing, the thing that they really like. Okay? So pag-uusapan natin ngayon, yung financial resilience na yan, yung FQ na yan, paano tayo magiging financially resilient? Paano tayo magkakaroon ng high FQ? So ano ba yung FQ? FQ is Financial Intelligence Quotient. It is the ability to make sound decisions and actions in managing your personal finances. So in other words, it is the IQ and EQ when it comes to handling your money. Okay? So ngayon, ang tanong ko sa inyo, nasaan na ba kayo sa FQ ninyo, no? And this is the first interactive thing that we will do today. I'm going to ask you to please take the FQ test. You can just take a screenshot, scan the QR code, or you can also click the link that we will be providing in the chat box. I am going to give you 6 minutes for this. Don't worry, no need for calculator at walang judgment kahit anong score ang makuha nyo. Okay, 6 minutes. So I'm going to play medyo okay na music para sa inyong brain. And when the music stops, that means pass your papers na po kayo. All right? Okay. So, finish or not finish, pass your papers. So now, tingnan natin, how did we fare in this FQ test? And as I said earlier, no judgment ito. Let's see, let's put out the poll there. If I could just ask you to please write down what you got in the FQ test. So yan, click nyo, did you get excellent, very good, good, satisfactory, fair, poor, or I didn't finish? Sana natapos yung lahat. Okay, sige. I'll give you just a few seconds to click your answer kung anong nakuha nyo. And then we will show. Hindi naman namin papakita yung pangalan nyo, so don't worry about it, okay? So, Carlo, once you're able to get some answers in this Zoom poll, we can share it with our audience. All right. So, okay, that's good. Satisfactory has the highest in percentage. That's 42%. And then, merong 8% na hindi nakatapos. So, hopefully, you can do it again after the talk. And then, wow! We have, well, there's fair for 8% also, kapareho nung I didn't finish. But we do have 17% na good, 8% very good, at saka 70% na excellent. Palakpakan natin. Okay, so yung mga naka-excellent dyan, ha, ituro nyo kung ano yung alam nyo sa mga loved ones ninyo. And for those who are so sad, yung mga emoji na sad because you got either poor, fair, or you didn't finish, don't fret because your scores are not cast in stone. As a matter of fact, what I'd like you to do is to now schedule your next FQ test 6 months from now. So that is going to be on June 4, 2021. Nasaan na kaya tayo at that time, Isama nyo na yung link para i-click nyo na lang agad. Okay? Sige. So, and I encourage you to ask the people in your family, in your household, especially those who affect your own financial behavior, to also take the FQ test. So, we do know that when you have a high FQ, that makes you financially resilient. And for you to be able to tweak your financial behavior and have a higher FQ test on June 4, 2021, let's now discuss the basic laws of money. And I don't know if anyone is familiar with The Richest Man in Babylon here. That's a classic which was written by George Clason in 1926. And what I did is I retold it in an easy to understand children's book, story and activity book, pero for adults also. Because it's a good reminder for us that the lessons about money, the rules that govern money are simple. So it's the retelling of The Richest Man in Babylon, and it comes in both English and Tagalog. Okay, let's go to the first basic law of money. Sabay-sabay natin sabihin kahit na naka-mute kayo. What is the first basic law of money? The first basic law of money is to pay yourself first. Makikita nyo, if you get to read the book, meron kasing si Arcad, he's the main character, and he has a mentor there. Tinatanong niya, paano ka ba yumaman? And of course, the mentor said that he always paid himself first. So tinanong niya, are you doing the same? So akala ni Arcad he was, because he was buying all these things for himself. Pero siguro mas maganda kung ikukwento ko sa inyo yung actual na contemporary times version of this Arcad and Algamish talk. In one of my big talks, marami yung audience. So I flashed the first basic law of money. Sabi ko, the first basic law of money is to pay yourself first. Anyone here who practices this, and then there's this guy, medyo matanda na siya, nakakatuwa siya, na yung mga alam niyo yung mga bibong matatandang lalaki. Ma'am, sabi niya, I do. So I called him up on stage. Sabi ko, sir, okay, paano niyo po pinapractice ang pay yourself first? Sabi niya, each time I get my salary, I go straight to my favorite restaurant, Max, and order my favorite Max Fried Chicken. Okay. So, anyone in the audience who would know, is he practicing the first basic law of money? Sabi ko, naku po, sir, hindi po yan. Mali po ang intindi natin. What you did was not to pay yourself first, but to pay Max first. Di ba? So, yun yung pagkakaiba, no? This is really a shift in mindset. That when we say paying yourself first and equating it to saving, which we usually identify with depriving ourselves, is not really depriving yourself. It is prioritizing yourself, particularly your future old self. So dapat, bago mo bigyan ng share sa sweldo mo, yung mga kung sino-sinong supplier, yung sarili mo muna. So remember that shift in mindset, okay? Now, that equation which goes income minus expenses equals savings, palitan na po natin yan. Kasi kung ganito lagi ginagawa natin year in and year out, tira-tira lang ang matitira for savings kung minsan wala pang matitira. So kung ganyan ang ginagawa nyo year in and year out, what do you think will happen when you get to your retirement age? You will be living in tira-tira. So let's change this equation to income minus savings equals expenses. Okay? So, tandaan nyo yan, ha? That's the golden rule of personal finance. Pasok naman yung ating second law of money. Basahin din ulit natin ng sabay-sabay. The second law of money is to get only into a business that you understand and to seek advice only from competent people. So, itutuloy ko sa inyo yung kwento ni Arcad, the richest man in Babylon. By the way, ito siya, oh. So sabi niya, nung nagkonsulta ulit siya sa mentor niya, tinanong ng mentor, kumusta? Nag-ano ka na ba? Nag-negosyo ka ba ng maayos? Oh, yes, sir, sabi niya. As a matter of fact, itong kaibigan kong ito, sabi niya, may negosyo kami. Kumukuha siya ng mga mura na precious stones sa ibang bansa, dinadala niya dito para ibenta namin at magkaka-profit kami pag nabenta na namin. Tapos sabi nung mentor, sino tong kaibigan mo na to? Yung kaibigan niya, bricklayer. Yun ang trabaho niya. He was not a jeweler or anything. So, wala po siyang expertise. Sabi niya, what? Sabi niya, why are you trusting a brickmaker on matters about precious stones? So, true enough, pag uwi nung kaibigan niya, puro, tawag natin sa Tagalog, puro puwet ng baso lang yung mga nakuha niya. At lugi sila. So in the same way, tingnan natin, ano ba yung pinapasukan yung negosyo? Meron ba kayong kaalaman dyan? Sino ba yung pinakikinggan nyo? Nakikinig ba kayo sa brickmaker kung ang gusto nyong negosyo is about precious stones? In the same way, when it comes to handling money, kanino-kanino kayo nakikinig? Alright? Punta naman tayo sa third basic law of money. Sabay-sabay ulit. The third law of money is to make your gold work for you and make an army of golden slaves before you buy luxury. Okay, so kita ulit yung si Arcad at saka yung mentor niya. So sabi niya, oh sir, I'm so happy to tell you that I'm now observing the first basic law of money to pay myself first and also to get only into a business that I can understand and to only seek advice from competent people. Very good, sabi ni mentor. Oh, nasaan na ngayon yung mga na-save mo? Kinita mo at na-save mo. Aba, eto ang sagot niya. Ay, naibili ko na ng syempre yung mga olden times, yung mga Babylonian yung parang yung mga spices na masasarap, mga camel skin for whatever, no? Sabi nung kanyang mentor, nako, sabi niya, walang mangyayari. Sabi nga niya in today's lingo. Walang mangyayari kung kada save mo, ginagastos mo pa rin. So you have to have an army of golden slaves muna before you buy luxury. So if we bring it to contemporary times, pag meron na ba kayong na-save, gastos na kaagad? Hindi pwede. Kasi this is the law that separates those who just get by from those who are able to accumulate wealth. Siyempre gusto ko dito kayong lahat sa accumulate wealth. This is the law that will allow you to maximize the power of compounding. Sabi nga ni Einstein, di ba? It's the nth wonder of the world, the power or the magic of compounding. So again, tatlong basic laws na yan. Very simple. Pay yourself first. Get only into a business that you understand. And seek advice only from competent people. At ito, to make your gold work for you, to make an army of golden slaves before you buy luxury, or you delay first your gratification. So, sasabihin niyo, Rose, if the laws are so simple, how come isang katutak na tao pa rin ay nagkakaproblema sa pera? Majority of people still have money problems despite the loss of money being simple. Why? Ito po yung sagot. It's because simple is not always easy. And hindi dahil mga bad people tayo, walang disiplina at kung ano-ano, no? Pwede rin yun na rason. But ito po ang pinaka-importanting rason na gusto ko sana you take this home with you after the event. This is how, this is how kasi we are wired, ano? Even if we know something is correct, this is what we're supposed to do, parang kung nangyayari pa rin, iba pa rin yung ginagawa natin. At meron ulit tayong game ngayon. Maglalabas ako, magpa-flash ako ng isang image and then you tell me, are you guilty of doing it? Okay, the first one, ito, text and drive. Labas natin ulit yung ating poll Zoom. Zoom poll rather. Are you guilty of texting while driving? To those of you who are not driving, can you just think of somebody whom you think is very intelligent who does that and answer for him? Does he text while he drives? Magpakatotoo tayo, ha? Okay. Anong mga sagot ng ating mga participants? Carlo. Uy, palakpakan. Talaga daw, 67% don't. And only 33% ay honest. Because if you observe, di ba, especially in Metro Manila, parang feeling ko over 90% does that. Anyway, sige, let's go to our next image. Let's flash the poll. Are you guilty of this? Eating unhealthy food. Ako, raise my hand na ako kagad dyan. Especially kung, alam mo, meron ako mga food na kinakain ko that they have to go with Coke. Like pizza, hamburger, kuminsan yung mga hotdog, ganyan, chips. So, sagot po tayo. Are you guilty of eating unhealthy food? Tada! Ayun. Mas honest kayo dito. So, 78% they say yes, and 22%. Palakpakan ko nga yung 22% na yan. Galing nyo. Okay, let's go to our next slide. Eto. Do you ditch exercise in favor of, mag-Netflix binge na lang ako, or ano na lang, ano tawag mo dito, kung ano-ano yung sinoscroll sa social media, or doing those things that will not bring you closer to your goals in life. Okay? Are you guilty of ditching exercise? Yeah. Ang hirap, no? 62% versus 38%. And the last one, ito na. After 11-11 sale comes 12-12. Tuloy-tuloy lang yan. Mamaya, ano na naman, 1-1 1-1 ba, 2-2. Are you guilty of buying more than you need because it's on sale? Alam mo kung minsan, no? Kasi nakita mo yung, ang laki ng matitipid ko kahit na hindi mo masyadong type. Kaya lang, parang feeling mo masyado ng mura. Binibili niyo po ba yon? Just because it's on sale. Kahit na sinabi mo na magsisave and invest na ako. Hoy, medyo half-half. Magaling kayo, ha? Siguro medyo, na kayo, financially aware. 48 versus 52 is actually a very good proportion. Okay. So, it seems like the reason why I bring this up to you, kasi, yun nga alam naman natin talaga, di ba, what we're supposed to do in the important aspects of our life. Alam nyo, hindi lang po sa pera, kahit sa pagkain, sa relationships, usually alam naman na natin. Pero hirap na hirap tayong gawin kung ano yung dapat natin gawin. And why is that? Bibigyan ko kayo ng very quick biology lesson. This is the way kasi we are wired. Ito po yung ating prefrontal cortex. Nakikita nyo sa upper right. Yan ang ating rational brain. If I'm going to give you a math problem, yan po yung part ng utak nyo na gagamitin nyo. While the limbic system is our emotional brain. Lahat ng mga 7 basic emotions natin. Fear, anger, happiness, sadness, lahat dyan na po process. And when I ask you, what part of the brain drives behavior? Unfortunately, it's the limbic system. So kahit alam mo na hirap ka pa rin gawin. Hindi dahil masama kang tao, pero dahil ganun tayo ginawa, ganun yung ating human wiring. And that is the reason, yung malaking gap na yan, that's what we should really bridge. Hindi sapat na alam mo na natutunan mo na yung lessons. Ang layo po kasi ng knowing and behaving. And that's the gap that we should bridge. And the very reason why I use behavioral economics. When I teach about money, I teach about family. Behavioral economics, just to simply define it, is the fusion, pinagsama ng traditional economics, which always assumes na rational brain tayo, prefrontal, and psychology, which really studies kung ano yung nagmo-motivate ng ating behavior. And I am in collaboration with the father of behavioral economics himself and Nobel laureate, Mr. Richard Thaler. At kumuha rin po ako ng kurso, Understanding and Shaping Customer and Employee Behavior sa Harvard Business School last year. So, ngayon, ano bang ibig sabihin nito? Magbibigay lang ako ng a few hacks, behavioral hacks sa inyo para mas madali nyong matutupad yung 3 basic laws of money. Okay, puntahan natin yung una. Yung sabi natin na dapat pay yourself first, no? Minsan kasi ang hirap lalo na pag may sale na naman. At saka lagi-lagi naman tayong may pagkakagastusan, di ba? So this is the behavioral hack, the design that you should all implement in your earnings, in your salary. You have to automate it. You automate your saving and investing. Meron po diyang mga easy investment plan so that isang beses mo lang didesisyonan, gagamitin mo yung prefrontal cortex mo, o magkano ba dapat ang sinesave and invest ko. Yun na ilalagay nyo, may mga online na yan, at magiging automatic na po siya. Hindi na kayo mag-iisip na, magsisave ba ako ngayon o hindi? You automate your saving and investing. Number 2, the second basic law of money, yung hindi porke yung kapitbahay mo, ang lakas ng kita niya sa food business, papasukin mo na rin. Hindi po dapat ganon. If you recall earlier, I showed you that intersection of your passion and the world need, that is your point of success. And if I may borrow the refinement by the Japanese in their philosophy, they call it the ikigai. That is the intersection, ni-refine pa nila kasi yung akin 2 aspects lang. Pero sa kanila, mas maganda pa, no? That which you are good at, that which you love to do, that which the world needs, and that which you can be paid for. So ngayon, kung maghahanap kayo ng mga pagkakakitaan, hanapin niyo po muna yung inyong ikigai. Okay? Your point of intersection, which is really God's will for you. Now, the second part of the second basic law of money talks about listening only to competent people. So, you have to filter naman your mentors. Like me, you have to vet me. You have to look me up. Kung sino ba tong si Rose Fresh Fausto? Ito bang mga pinagsasasabi niya, talaga bang ginagawa niya? So ganun po dapat tayo pagka meron tayong mga pinakikinggan, yung mga ginagaya sana para mapabuti yung buhay natin, ayusin, tinan din natin kung paano sila mamuhay, no? And of course, in order for you to avoid scam, wag po kayo kung sino-sino nakikinig. Usually, pag may magsasabi, uy, pare, dito tayo, mag-invest tayo dito, sure ito, siguradong kita at mataas pa ang kita. Pag meron pong nagsabi sa inyo ng ganon, takbo na kayo as fast as you can because there's no such thing as a sure ball and a high return. Sa investment, the golden rule is the higher the return, the higher the risk. And the lower the return, the lower the risk. I'm sorry, the lower the risk, the lower the return. So, yan, yung mga time deposit, yung mga ganon, no? Ang baba-baba lang nung mga halos wala nga eh. But, sure yan. And later on, we will know kung ano bang pondo dapat ang nilalagay nyo sa mga kung saan-saan financial instruments. Okay? So, the third basic law of money, ano naman ang hack natin dyan? Paano ka naman magde-delay gratification? Di ba kadalasan sasabihin, kwento, mga millennial girls, there's a millennial girl who really loves signature bags. So when she started working, she was eyeing at this bag which was worth 100,000 pesos. So she started saving for it. No? Save siya. Meron na siyang 100,000. Is it okay for her already to buy that? Some would say, yeah. Deserve naman niya. Di ba yun yung lagi nakirinig natin? Deserve ko naman to, pinaghirapan ko to. But I say, wag muna. Delay muna. And when should I start naman enjoying luxuries in life? So, bibigyan ko rin kayo ng simple guideline to it. I say that buy luxury only if you can afford to buy 10 pieces of it. Medyo mabagsik, but it's easy to remember because you just add 1 0 at the end. So si millennial girl who is eyeing at that 100,000 bag, she should have at least 1 million na in her bank account before she starts considering that. Okay? So those are your 3 hacks for the 3 basic laws of money. Naku, napakarami pa ho niyan. And actually, I'm very excited to announce that the second installment of the FQ trilogy is coming. And it's called Why Financial Education Alone Does Not Work. It includes a crash course on behavioral economics, yung pinagsasabi ko kanina. And para siyang 2 books in 1 baliktaran. Yung kabila po niya talks about the psychology of money. And I came up with 2 characters, si Mac, in short for Makatwiran, he's the rational guy, and si Emong, the emotional Emong. And meron silang mga kwento-kwento on how they would handle their money. And the idea is for you to now see, oy, how rational Mac am I? How emotional Emong am I here? So hopefully you also watch out for that book. Now, para tayo magkaroon ng financial resilience, we have to have certain funds in our portfolio. We have different needs with different time horizons. Kanina, meron akong sinabi, di ba, mga short-term investments. So, when it comes to time horizons, we have 3. There's a short-term, there's a medium-term, and there's long-term. Pag short-term, if you need it within the year, in a couple of years, dito lang tayo sa short-term. Medium, mga 5 years or so. Long-term, ito na yung matagalan. Beyond 5 years then, until you retire. So, ano ba dapat nilalagay sa ating short-term basket? Ito po yung ating working capital fund or tawag ng mga regular yung budget. Kung ano lang yung gagastusin mo dapat for the month. Sana naglilista kayo kasi that listing did a lot to me. That's why I was able to really implement good budget, good spending plans. And then, ang pinaglalagyan ko po nito, nasa cash, savings account, current account. Okay? So, meron din dapat tayong emergency fund which is 3 to 6 months of expenses kung kayo ay empleyado or more, mga 1 year kung businessman kayo. Ngayon, saan natin to ilalagay? Huwag po nating iiwanan yan sa ATM account kasi nakaka-tempt kunin kahit hindi totoong emergency. Like a sale is not an emergency, ano? So ilagay po natin sa time deposit at money market. May konting barrier, may konti pang step bago mo makuha para mapag-isip-isip mo, totoo bang emergency ito? Diba? And of course, you also have the higher yielding savings account. So doon niyo po ilalagay, wag lang sa ATM, wag lang sa ilalim ng mattress. Now, and also this is very important, you should have your protection fund, especially for those who are the bread makers of their families. Ngayon, ano ba ang mura? Mura po, ang bilhin nyo na lang ay yung term life insurance. Magko-compute kayo together with your agent. Ano ba? Halimbawa, i-imagine nyo, morbid as it is, you have to imagine, what if I die or I lose my ability to make, to create income, to earn for my family. Iko-compute nyo po yon up to such time at to the extent na magiging financially independent na rin yung mga nakasalalay pa sa inyo ngayon. Okay? So that is your protection fund. Now let's go to the medium-term basket. Ano naman itong mga to? So ano ba yung mga goals nyo in 5 years? To buy a car, go on a vacation, ikakasal ka na ba, pag-aaral ng mga anak nyo. So ilalagay po naman natin to sa combination ng fixed at saka equity or stocks. Yung mga bonds, meron po tayong mga bond fund, at yung equity, ang ibig lang po sabihin nito, minsan yung iba na-intimidate, ay ayoko ng stocks, pang mayaman lang yan. What it really just means is that you are now kasosyo ng mga taipans ng ating bansa. Nila C family ng SM, ng mga Ayala, di ba? Binibilan nyo naman sila eh. You might as well also earn from their earnings. And when it comes to our long-term basket, ito na po yung ating mga long-term dreams, yung mga retirement, college education ng mga maliliit nyo pang anak, building a house siguro. And when it comes to long-term investing, the stocks or the equity market really gives the highest return in the long term. Huwag nyo pong ilalagay dito yung mga kailangan nyo na next year, no? But you should all be investing for the long term kasi lahat tayo may pangangailangan. And the sooner you start building for, let's say, your retirement, the better. Kasi po, in investing, mas importante ang inyong time in the market, kung gaano kayo katagal na nandyan, kaysa yung timing the market. Yung pa-timing ba kayo dyan? Wag na. Para lang yan dun sa mga may oras at may capability to do technical analysis at kung ano-ano pa dyan, no? For the regular people, and if that is not your job, no, so that you can focus on your job, you just do what we call the peso cost averaging. Every month, yung kanina sinabi kong automate, ilalagay na lang niya doon automatically na. Let's for example, 20% of your income goes directly to your investment account and invested in equity index fund. Yun po ang pinakamainam in the long run for you. Okay, so tandaan po natin, hindi como takot ka, sasabihin, ay kasi my risk appetite is low kaya hindi na ako mag-i-invest sa equity. Hindi po. Iba-iba ang time frame ng ating pangangailangan. Kailangan meron tayong ini-invest on short term, medium term, at saka long term. Okay? So, just a quick note on debt. Ano naman ang masasabi natin tungkol sa mga kautangan, no? I devote one chapter in the FQ book about debt. It discusses the history and other matters. But let me just share with you that debt is really a double-edged sword, no? Siyempre, okay din yung uutang ka kung hindi mo pa kayang bumili. Especially yung mga big-ticket items like a house. Konting-konti lang naman ang kayang bumili ng bahay ng cash, di ba? Baka nga money launderer yung kayang-kaya niyang bumili. But for the regular one-and-one na kailangan natin ng mortgage, ng mga housing loan, ganun. And then if your business na parang, uy, medyo nagbo-boom to, kaya lang kailangan ko ng dagdagan para makabili ako ng inventaryo. Yun, okay din yun, no? Pero tandaan lang po natin na once inabuso natin ang utang, and I think home credit always reminds you of this also, when you abuse it, it no longer empowers you. It oppresses you and you now become the slave of your debts. Sabi nga nila, ang utang, ito ang modern day slavery. Hindi na tayo wala nang slaves na nakaposas na pinagtatrabaho ng walang bayad. Pero nakaposas na yung iba sa utang. at nagtatrabaho lang na parang halos wala na ring bayad. Okay? Meron akong acid test sa debt, no? Bago yung pasukin ito. Tanungin po natin itong mga katanungan na ito. Number 1 question is, will the use of the debt improve my condition? Okay? So, kung meron kang bibilin at mangungutang ka dahil sa pagbili nito, isipin mo, makakabuti ba to sa akin? So, kung check, next question naman. Are the terms and conditions of the debt fair? Talaga bang kaya ko ba itong bayaran? Baka naman yung amortization ng debt mo, iuubusin na lahat. Wala ka nang matitirang pang budget sa bahay, pambili ng mga basic needs mo. So, pagka na-check mo rin ito, dapat kasi, pag na-check mo ito, you are still in a better position. Di ba? Yung number 1. And that's a time you consider having that debt. Nako, okay na. Alam mo, mag-iisang oras na rin ako dito. No? Really, 1 hour is not enough. Ang dami ko pang gustong ikwento sa inyo, matutunan ninyo. But we can continue the conversation. Inaanyayahan ko po kayo na dalawin kami sa fqmom.com. Marami po kayong makukuha doon. Mga articles, videos, at podcasts tungkol sa FQ at mga iba pang bagay. Kasi yung FQ laging nakadikit yan sa other aspects of our life. And when you subscribe to us, you will get a free welcome ebook entitled Why We Should All Mind Our FQ. So maraming salamat po at I wish you together with my family a very Merry Christmas. At dahil Pasko, at alam nyo kasi pag face-to-face, we usually offer our books at a good price. For this Christmas, I am offering for today, kasi para bang ito na lang yung pinaka face-to-face natin. There's a buy one, take one for all FQ Mom books on orders you make today. So parang ini-imagine ko, magkakasama tayo nga kanina sa isang kwarto, no? So that is my gift for you. You can just contact us. Carlo, meron ka bang ginawang QR code for this? If the QR code is not available, may I just ask you to email to fqteam@fqmom.com. Ulitin ko lang po yun, fqteam@fqmom.com. Or puntahan nyo na lang ako dito sa mga channels na to. No? Meron akong Instagram, meron po kaming Facebook page. Okidoki. So, isang maliit na favor, if you could just scan this feedback or click the link that will be provided in the chat box. Just a few questions that will help us improve. Maraming salamat and I'll be ready for your questions after you answer the feedback.
Ayan, thank you very much, Ms. Rose. Ayan, and for that very insightful na presentation. And I'm sure some of our attendees here are kind of like maybe curious dun, or meron silang mga tanong about dun sa naging presentation ninyo earlier. So if ever you guys have questions or clarifications with Ms. Rose's presentation, just type in here in our chat box or you feel free to unmute yourselves. Kasi kanina, di ba, encourage tayo ni Ms. Rose to take down notes para then if ever na meron kayong mga clarifications or hindi naintindihan or curious about, this financial intelligence quotient, feel free to do so. And don't forget to send us your feedback regarding this webinar through the Google Docs na nandito sa ating chat box.
Mm-hmm.
Ayan, so if ever you guys have questions, feel free to unmute or through our chat box.
Wait, can you just help me? The Lola-ness is kicking in. I'm not seeing anything anymore. Wala ako nakikita. Did you disable anything? I don't see even you guys. I'd like to see sana you and the other participants. How do I do
You
that?
can stop sharing the screen na po, Ms. Rose.
Okay. Oh, there you go. All right. So, Carlo, nakapagsagot na ba sila ng feedback natin? Carlo, are you there? Naka-mute ka.
Hi, ma'am. I'm still waiting for others to answer the question.
Okay. Yeah. And you can find the link also
Yes.
here in the chat box, no? And come up with your questions. Yung mga nasa-shy, pwede rin isulat doon.
Yes. So,
Pero mas maganda, interactive tayo. Let's do it.
feel free to, kahit mag-on din kayo ng video. Para
Yeah, ako I prefer that. If you turn on your video, para hello, para magkita tayo sa kung saan dyan eh. O ayan, si Ryan. Hi Ryan!
Hi, Sir Ryan.
Naka-copper mask.
Kasi kahit sa bahay, protected pa din.
Baka wala siya sa bahay.
Office. Miss Rose, sorry, meron lang din sa hand directly na nag-message for a question. It's regarding on the long-term basket related na din sa raw kanina because he keeps hearing that it's crucial to diversify. So I think it's about investment.
Yes.
Why is that so daw po? Na kumbaga crucial yung diversification.
Diversification is a very, very important aspect of successful investing. Ano bang ibig sabihin yan? Ang ibig sabihin po yan in layman's term is not to put all your eggs in one basket. So for example, ang mga investments mo ay, kunyari, nasa real estate, nasa stocks, nasa bonds. Kung nagkaroon ng problema sa isang market, itong tatlo nito, bawa, lumaglag yung stock market, meron ka pang dalawa na okay. 'Di ba? On the other hand, kunyari, lumaglag ang real estate for whatever reason, baka kung anong nangyari dun sa kung saan lugar ka naka-invest, naging NPA infested or whatever, meron ka pang dalawang pillars or kung ilan man yan. So, that is the beauty of diversification. You are able to spread the risk. Kasi di ba, iba-iba talaga eh. Tawag nga nila, weather lang, ano? Panahon, kung minsan okay itong as investment instrument na to, kung minsan ito naman, kung minsan ito naman. So when you are diversified, you are better off. Hindi ka yung parang pag nalaglag na yung isa, patay na lahat. That's the importance of diversification.
And you also mentioned, Ms. Rose, about the risk tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
So paano po ba malalaman ng isang tao yung risk appetite or risk tolerance niya when it comes to, investing or saving up for something?
Okay, so medyo controversial yung topic na risk tolerance na yan, ano? Because most financial institutions, as required by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, they will now categorize you. Ikaw ba, you have a low risk tolerance, high risk tolerance, medium risk tolerance. But what I'd really want for you to consider is yung tatlo nating time horizons, yung tatlong baskets natin. Kasi sino ba naman ang gusto ng risk? Wala naman eh, di ba? But we have to realize that if lahat ilalagay natin sa risk-free, ay wala tayong kikitain. Kung lahat ilalagay mo sa savings account, wala. Wala talaga. Magiging lugi ka because inflation is definitely higher than the savings account interest rate, which is almost nil, almost nothing. So, when it comes to risk tolerance, the first thing that you should do is to identify kung para saan ba yung saving at investing mo na yan. So ito, kung para ito dun sa, kung bawa, college fund ng anak mo na mag-college na next year, dito na siya sa low risk. Dito na siya sa mga fixed income time deposit mo na ilagay yan. Pero kung para naman sa retirement mo, at bagets ka pa, ilang dekada pa bago ka mag-retire, wag mo na mailagay sa savings account, ilagay mo sa equity market. Ilagay mo lang siya sa para simple lang, ano? Equity index fund. Makikita niyo yan, marami. You can talk to investment, ang tawag mo dito, fund houses, or you can go to COL kasi ando na available online na yung mga iba-ibang mga funds such as Sun Life, Phil Equity, etc. Tapos, kaya siya bumagsak ang market o umakyat, chill ka lang kasi gagamitin mo siya in 2 decades or so pa. Ang nangyayari kasi sa atin, we get so agitated by the daily or the every second movement of the stock market. Kaya ang konti lang nang nag-i-invest sa stock market. Can you imagine? It's just 1%. That is wrong. That is wrong. It is so wrong not to be invested in the asset class that gives you the highest return in the long term. Eh, lahat naman tayo may long-term needs, di ba? So there you go. That's my answer for the risk appetite.
Or minsan kasi, Miss Rose, di ba, yung iba sa atin, kaya din siguro 1% lang talaga na nag-invest, and then yung nai-intimidate sila, or they think that it's really for those na may pera, or hindi nila alam kung paano gagawin yun, gano'n. So yeah, I think the answer for that would be, you know, we just have to educate ourselves and really understand, going back dun sa tip ninyo kanina, that we should understand where we're getting ourselves into, and then we're all set.
Your time horizon, very important yan. In understanding your risk appetite, lagi dapat coupled with that. What is the time horizon of this particular need that I'm investing for?
Oh, okay. So we have another question from our chat box, Ms. Rose. So, well, sabi po niya, good morning, Ms. Rose. Thank you so much for teaching us how to improve our FQ. Just a question about insurance. So, what are the guidelines that we should keep in mind when purchasing the right insurance for me and her family?
Okay, insurance. And I have to be very careful in answering this question because sometimes it is misunderstood. Maraming mga na-hurt na insurance agents, okay? Insurance is protection fund. That is how I consider it. Lahat ng mga breadwinner, kung meron kang dependent, sobrang kailangan mo ng insurance. I'm talking about term life insurance here. So, a father of a family na meron siya, let's say, 3 dependents, obligasyon niya na ma-insure siya. Ano? Bakit? Kasi paano kung namatay siya? Makakapag-aral pa ba itong mga anak niya? Mabubuhay pa ba sila? So yun ang poprotektahan natin. Now, there are several kinds of insurance in the market. Meron yung mga, I call tisoy, yung pinagsasama nila, yung insurance at investment. Kasi parang the selling point there is, may insurance ka na, may investment ka pa. Eh okay nga naman, di ba? But they are more expensive. It is cheaper to separate those two. Bumili ka na lang po ng term insurance mo at ihiwalay mo yung investment mo. Pero dapat lagi mo ring magko-contribute. Kumbaga magbabayad ka rin, magka-cash out ka rin dito. When you separate them, you are able to purchase these two products at a much cheaper price. So, ang nangyari kasi, kaya yung mga tao, this is the history of yung mga tisoy insurance. At the start naman talaga, ang insurance, puro term lang yan. So parang imagine niyo sa kotse, di ba magbabayad ka ng insurance mo ngayong taon na to. Kung hindi ka nabangga, walang nangyari sa'yo, wala kang makukuha. But you are buying peace of mind. So dapat ganun din po yun. Ang nangyari nun, parang ayaw nila na, ay, wala na, nag-contribute ako, wala man lang ako nakuha. Eh bakit gusto mo bang mamatay? Ganun lang yung tanong doon, di ba? But when you are able to do that, mas mura mo siya makukuha. Tapos, i-separate mo rin yung inyong investment. Alam mo, Marge, ang nangyayari nga ganito eh. Kasi they are sold this product na magkasama. Na sila, nag-expect sila. Tapos pag tinanong nila, ano na yung fund value ko? Makita nila, bakit ang baba? Bakit mas mababa pa siya kaysa dun sa actual contribution ko? Yun. So there's a lot of confusion also there na bakit ganon? Kasi hindi nila naintindihan. Eh pero pag hiniwalay mo silang dalawa, klarong-klaro sa'yo, ito, I will be protected anytime. Tapos ito yung kumikita na pwedeng bababa pansamantala, pero mag-aahon din later on. So the answer to your question is please see somebody na hindi lang commission ang kanyang intention. Somebody who may mga magagaling naman at mga very conscientious naman na mga insurance agents dyan. And ask them, can you just quote for me a term insurance? And then if he's also eligible to sell to you yung mga investment products nila, just separate the two.
Oh, I see. So parang if ever para hiwalay po yung protection fund and the investment fund, that would be much more ideal. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Rose. So again, another question from Angela. Kailan daw po magandang mag-start at mag-invest?
Kahapon. What I always say, especially for parents of young kids, no, you start them young, very, very young. Kwento ko sa inyo kung anong ginawa namin sa kanila noon. When they were born, we opened their bank account. Tapos, doon na namin nag-deposit yung mga angpaw, yung mga, minsan may mga nagre-regalo ng cash, di ba? Hindi na namin kinomingle with our funds. So, since bata pa naman sila, hindi pa nila kailangan yung pera, at sa awa ng Diyos, we could still fend for their needs, we invested them. There was a time, ang ganda-ganda ng return ng mga fixed income instruments. May mga double your money in 5 years. Ibig sabihin nun, yung mga instruments that give you 15% per annum. Pero ngayon, wala na po yun. So, nung nawawala na yun, nilagay namin sa equity yung mga pera nila. When they started asking about money, we could show them something. Hey, this is what you have already. May balance sheet na yung mga anak ko kahit nung maliliit pa sila. So, ganun din ang gawin nyo. Now, if you were not able to start that early, ngayon na. The next best time to start is now. Ngayon na, gawin mo na. Wala nang yung mga alibay pa na, tsaka na, pag meron na akong extra. Ang investing po, hindi po naghihintay ng extra yan. It should be started. At sabi ko nga, latest sana to start saving for your retirement is on the first day of your work. Yung first sweldo mo, meron na nakahiwalay. We cannot count kasi on SSS, GSIS, hindi na po sapat eh. Lalo na sa SSS, napaka-konti lang na makukuha nating retirement doon. Tapos, sa mga companies naman where we work with, palipat-lipat naman ng mga tao di ba? So, there's really not enough time para kumita yung inyong retirement fund.
Oh, I see. Okay, another question is Rose, diniretso na lang din niya on my account. Should we tweak our investment strategy raw po ba as we age?
Should we what?
Should we tweak?
Oh yeah, of course. You should. Merong isang very rough guideline si John Bogle. He is the father of mutual fund investing, of index investing rather. Ang sabi niya, kasi mahilig din sa equity investing, it is your age, it's 100 minus your age, yun daw ang nakalagay sa equity dapat. Okay, so apparently, syempre, obviously, he's a champion for equity investing. The passive way, hindi yung nagtitrade actively, hindi. So, di ba, halimbawa, ikaw ay, how old are you? 30, Kunyari, 30 years old. So, 100 minus 30, 70. So, 70%, yun na kanyang recommendation. 70% naka-invest sa equity. Yung equity na hindi yung in-out ka, ganon. But these are just mga talagang lang yan, rough estimates. It really depends on you also. But what it just says is that the younger you are, the more time you have to hold on to your equity investment. So the greater the percentage, you can afford to be there. Ay, meron akong ikukwentong cute dyan, yung bunso ko, nung bata pa. So sila, they were exposed to equity investing at a very, very early age. Tapos one time, when we were talking, grade school pa lang siya noon, sabi niya, Ma, I think I want to put all my money in the stock market. Tapos sabi ko, oh, why? Sabi ko sa kanya, di ba you know that there are risks also in the stock market? Tapos ito yung sagot niya. But sabi niya, when the stock market goes down, my lifestyle will not change. It is when, sorry na ganun, it is when your stocks go down that my lifestyle will change. So, yun na nga ang daming mga tao, mga magulang there was one reader who said na mali daw yung sinasabi ko at sinasabi ko daw yung pera ng bata ilagay sa equity market, sa stock market. Dangerous daw yun. Parang sabi ko, this is the answer. Your child has a bigger appetite for risk, a longer time horizon na pwede niyang pakitain. Pero kami, mas maikli kasi we were already, right now, we're already in our 50s. So, yun, ganun yung, siguro yun yung magandang tandaan natin, Kung ano ba yung kaya ko na i-hold ko lang muna dyan. Na hindi ko kakailanganin na, halimbawa, kakailanganin ko ngayon, bagsak yung market, di ba? Wag po yung perang yun ang ilalagay doon.
Oh, I see. Speaking of, hindi nga masyadong maganda yung market, yan, meron pa nagtatanong, is it really safe or good time for them to invest, even pandemic daw po?
Of course. Alam mo, successful stock investing is you buy low and sell high. Unfortunately, if you remember kanina yung ating biology lesson, di ba, yung prefrontal cortex at saka yung limbic. Si limbic yung nananalo eh. Takot si limbic, kaya baliktad yung ginagawa niya. Kung maakyat yung market, nakikiunahan na bumili. So, buy high, tapos pag bumagsak yung market, taranta siya, sell low, which is the exact opposite of how to make money in the stock market. So, ang panlaban nyo po dyan, gawin nyo ng automatic. Makyat, bumagsak, ang market continuously, we call this the peso cost averaging, continuously nag-i-invest lang yung pera nyo automatically. You are now protecting yourself from your limbic system.
I see. And another question, what would be the best or recommended investment instrument daw po ngayon for beginners?
For beginners, this is for your long-term investing, equity index fund. So for those who might want to just try, you check COL kasi siya yung pinakamarami sa platform niya. Marami kayong mapagpipili ang mga index funds po doon. At saka ito na yung mga vetted na po ito. Hindi na yung mga kung sino-sinong mga pagbibigyan nyo ng pera nyo. Mga legit na po yung mga yan. Equity index fund. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng equity index fund versus an actively managed fund? Yung actively managed, may fund manager na pinipili niya kung anong saan niya gusto mag-invest, iba-ibang company. Yung equity index fund, sinusunod lang niya sino ba ang top 30 companies in the country na nakalist. Yun lang ang binibili niya. Automatic na yan. Ang kagandahan niyan, pag mga fund, kahit 1,000 pesos lang ang kaya niyong invest, in fact, meron yata 500 lang eh. Diversified na agad. Kaysa yung pipili ka pa, kung minsan ang isang stock, for example, one share of Globe is more than 2,000 pesos yata. So, mahihirapan ka. But if you buy the equity index fund, naka-diversify na. Top 30 corporations pa.
Ayun. Thank you, Ms. Rose, for the question. So, if ever meron pa kayong other questions, just feel free to unmute or kung nahihiya kayo through our chat box. From Ms. Salven, from Ms. Trias, she asked if this webinar will be viewed in our internet, in our SharePoint. Yes, we have recorded this webinar, so we will also upload it in our share.
Kahingi ako ng copy, Marge, ha?
Yes, sure po.
At saka pala, meron akong request sa inyo ng yung mga naging favorite takeaways nyo, kung meron kayong na screenshot or kahit from your memory, baka pwede nyong i-share para yung ibang mga nasa social circle nyo matuto rin at itag nyo rin po ako. Kasi alam nyo, yun yung food for the soul namin eh, yung mga nagtuturo ng ganito. Pag meron natututunan, gusto namin talaga pay it forward, pay it forward. So yun ang request ko Please tag me showing me your favorite takeaway from this session.
Ayan. Speaking of takeaways nga po or mga tips, if there's just one thing or best tip na pwede nyo daw pong i-share sa amin ngayon, what would be it?
Okay. If there's, kung halimbawa, isa lang talaga, it's the first basic law of money. You pay yourself first and idagdag nyo na yung behavioral hack, automate it. Automate. Automatic na dapat, wala nang iniisip. Parang tax na, wala ka nang lusot. Sabi ko nga bakit ba yung tayo, natatax tayo at least 20-30%. Sa atin, we're not even allocating that for ourselves. So, that's why I say at least 20%, sinisave and invest, and you work your way up. So that when you reach your midlife, you're saving anywhere from 40 to 50%. And that will give you now a rather comfortable retirement. Based on experience yan.
Pay yourself first. Ayan pala. Yung pinaka sa main tip.
And automatically, digdig niya yan.
Ayun, parang wala nang iisipin.
Oo.
Oo, automated na lahat. Again, so if ever meron pa kayong questions, and we also encourage you guys to send your feedback through the link on the chat box then. So para we would know what would be the things we can improve, or meron kayong mga suggestion then on topics, ganyan, and how do you see this webinar. So feel free to share your insights then through our feedback form.
Uy, may mga tiga Baguio pala. Do you know that I'm Ilocana?
Oh.
Naimbag nga aldaw kada kayo amin. I wanna go to Baguio nga eh. Pero iwan pa ba?
Natin requirement ng tampuan. Oh, there's this another question po from Angela. Saan po mas maganda mag-invest? Sa MP2 ng pag-ibig or sa stock market?
Ako, mas comfortable ako sa stock market and through equity index fund. But you try to also look at that kung ano yung mga return na binibigay sa inyo at yung safety. But based on experience, I do invest. I've been investing in the stock market for so many decades now. But not the type na nagta-timing. Ang trato ko po sa stock market ay nakikisosyo ako sa mga Zobel, sa Ayala, sa mga C ng SM at lahat pa ng mga ibang top corporations. And these are the companies that we patronize, di ba? Binibigyan natin sila ng earnings. We might as well take part in their earnings as well.
Speaking of stock market po, would you mind sharing kung ano yung mga best sa market, kung saan daw po kayo nag-i-invest when it comes to stock market? Anong pipili?
Okay. I would always look for companies with good track record and matinong management. However, and mas nagawa ko nga ito nung naging homemaker ako kasi meron akong oras magbasa at saka I am trained to do that because I was an investment banker. I knew how to read balance sheets, cash flows, ganyan. Pero pag sa ordinaryong tao, I don't expect you to be doing your own stock picking. Wag na. Ang gagawin nyo lang talaga, para na ako sirang plaka, equity index fund lang talaga. Equity index fund, wala na mga emotion doon kasi just the top 30 corporations, doon lang niya ini-invest yung pera mo. At nag-automatic din yan. Pag halimbawa, there was a time PLDT was like a huge part of the index. Kasi nga, malaki siya, the price was good, the earnings, etc. Pero nung nagkaroon ng konting aberya, automatically bumababa na yung kanyang percentage. These are the things that are already automatic at hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na mas magaling ka pa kaysa dyan. And kumbaga, results show that equity index funds give even higher returns as compared to those which are actively managed in the long term. So doon na lang po kayo sa equity index funds. Ayan. Marami na kayong pagpipilian yan.
Ayan. So parang hindi na rin po masyadong confusing for our,
Oo, at saka mas maliit yung sinecharge nila na fee kasi wala ng active management. So yung nakakaltas na fee sa inyo, malalagay na sa return ninyo. Mas malaki na yung kikitain ninyo.
So are there any more questions? You can just unmute, or again, we're open for anything na questions niyo. Sa tingin niyo, kung nahihiya baka kasi masyado basic ba yung question, don't be afraid to ask po.
O tanungin mo na lang, ano ang favorite takeaway mo?
Ayan, oo nga. For our colleagues, baka pwede kayong mag-chat kung ano yung that favorite takeaway from this webinar. Ako kasi Ms. Rose, sobrang helpful yung na-share ninyo na behavioral hack para din, alam mo yun, very convenient din for us para to shift yung mga ganung mindset. Yan nga, kagaya nabanggit niyo, kahit simple, dahil sale lang yan or 11 or 12 sale, hindi naman kailangan, di ba, mag-spend ka agad. So the behavioral hacks helped me. So kayo, ano ba yung pinaka-favorite ninyong takeaway for this morning? Feel free to share it with us. Kasi, ayan, from all over. From Miss Ria, she said, pay yourself first. Yun din, Miss Rosie, yung yung talagang tumatak sa kanya. That's really one thing na, di ba, pwede natin talagang, dun talaga tayo pwede mag-start to have a discipline, to pay ourselves first. Ano pa, baka meron pa yung ibang takeaways from yung mga friends natin from Baguio, from La Union, from Jensen, meron din tayong friends from Jensen who's attended this webinar.
Pag nag-take pala kayo ng FQ test nyo sa June 2, 2021, give us feedback how you're able to improve your FQ score and what you did. That will be very great.
Ayan. Just in case, I think na-share din natin dito sa chat box yung link for the FQ test.
Yeah.
So, ayan, pwede natin siyang i-take. Or you can also share that with your friends, relatives, colleagues, diba? Para
oo, di ba? Anyway, on our social media, hilig na hilig tayo dun sa mga who is the celebrity that you look most like? Yung mga ganyan. Nako, wag na mag-FQ test na lang kayo. May kahilinatan.
Ayan. So, ayan, sinare din namin yung link for the FQ test. So, you can also share it through your social media or message your friends, family, your relatives. Ayan. So, are there any other questions or kung meron pa kayo favorite takeaways for this morning? Ano ba yung tumatak sa inyo? Sige nyo ma-apply nyo na today until,
ngayong Christmas. Pay yourself first pa rin, yung mga bonus nyo, saan na napunta lahat yon.
For Miss Evelyn, she shared that learning for the day was, buy luxury items only if you can afford to buy 10 pieces of it.
Yon.
Yan, kung masyadong mahal or it's an luxury item at kung hindi natin kaya ng
just add 1 0.
ng 10 ganon, baka kailangan natin pag-isipan muna yung purchase na yon.
Delay gratification.
Ayun. So, I think
tutorial na tayo.
Yeah, so if we can ask some of our friends here na baka pwede tayong share ng video. So, para pwede tayong kung okay lang sa inyo. Perfect, Rufi.
Ayan, meron na. Hi, Evelyn. Ria. Marie.
Ayan.
Lucky. And
yung mga friends natin sa Baguio, from La Union, from Jen.
Ilan sa Baguio?
Good. Ito na yung mga taga-Baguio friends natin. Si Lea. Hi, Miss Lea. Ayan. Okay. Ako na lang mag-take. And Sir Carlo, feel free to take a screenshot din po.
Yeah.
Smile.
Ilang pages kaya?
Oo nga, sa pages. Okay, another. Ayan.
Okay.
Okay, again, thank you everyone for taking some time to join our financial literacy webinar with Miss Rose. And again, Miss Rose, thank you din sa pag-share ng inyong insights and of course, knowledge with our participants this morning. It really helped us, to para mas ma-improve pa yung financial literacy knowledge or financial knowledge ng lahat, and with your hacks at saka mga tips on how we can, bounce back from all the setbacks that we're currently experiencing. And if ever yun ding mga tips niyo is, I'm sure makakatulong sa bawat isa sa amin, just in case meron pa tayong mga, unforeseen circumstances in life. Hindi na tapos. But I'm sure makakatulong yun sa aming lahat. And I hope everyone, ayon, you got to learn a thing or two from this webinar. And ayon, just in case na meron kayong questions, feel free to visit Miss Rose article and page. And just in case, she's very accommodating din sa mga questions then, if ever you still have. Again, thank you again, everyone. And Miss Rose, maraming salamat din po sa inyong oras.
Okay, bye. Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy weekend.
Yes, happy Friday and happy weekend.